I've got a question for you. Do you reckon e-bikes are going to kill off train station parking? I mean, might be a bit of a silly question, but it's worth asking. But look, over the last couple of months, I've visited a lot of cafes and looked at the parking that's available at them. And one of the things about Perth is that a heck of a lot of cafes have got safe, convenient parking or secure, convenient parking for bikes, which is great. Makes it really nice to visit them. Doesn't matter where you go, you can park your bike. But what about train stations? Well, I went on a ride from Perth down towards Freo. You can see it's, well, about 16 k's to the turnaround point. And there's a number of train stations along the way. And we're going to go down the principal shared path which parallels the railway line. And I just wanted to show you the mix of cyclists and scooter riders that I saw on this particular morning. This is all filmed in, over a course of about an hour. And you'll see a whole range of bikes heading into the CBD and the odd scooter as well. And, uh, you know, there's a mix in the way people are dressed. Some are in lycra, some are in casual clothes, some are in suits. You'll see backpacks on some people. Obviously, they're commuting to work. Others have got panniers. Obviously, I'd also say commuting to work, given this was about 8 o'clock in the morning. But what I saw were very few e-bikes. A lot of, road bikes, flat bar bikes of various sorts, or Dutch style bikes. But I was looking down at the frames to see if there were batteries, and I didn't see a lot of batteries. Doesn't mean they weren't there. It's just that from my very rough survey, I would say the majority of the bikes going into town were non-electric. Now, I guess that begs the question of if I'm not seeing a lot of electric bikes going into town, then how are e-bikes going to kill off railway station car parking? Because to me, the whole idea of railway station parking is that, let's say you live, oh, I don't know, 500 metres to a kilometre away from the train station, and you can't be bothered walking that distance. So you go and get a El Cheapo bike, what I'd call a beater bike, a beaten up bike. Might even pick it up off the side of the road during a council cleanup, which is what a bloke I worked with did once, or actually a few times. And you ride it to the train station and you lock it up there, and you don't care if the thing gets stolen because, it's a cheap, crummy bike. But what I noticed going through these train station sheds, bike sheds, is the lack of e-bikes in them. Yeah, there's three or four bikes in there, and they're what I'd call the beta bikes. The train station, all the bike sheds that I visited, I didn't see a single e-bike, but I saw a heck of a lot of beta bikes. Anyway, let's say you live 5 kilometres from the CBD, and you get yourself an e-bike, and you're thinking, well, I could ride it a kilometre to the station, or I could just get on the principal shared path and keep on going. Because why would I bother, you know, stopping at the station, swiping into the bike shelter, locking the bike up, then walking up to the platform, waiting a few minutes for the train to turn up. It's a 5 or 10 minute ride into town. Okay, get off at a central station. Then you got to walk to the office, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you might be in casual clothes or a suit. You don't have to get changed or anything like that. But um, why not just jump on the bike in your suit and just ride the whole way? It's not like you're going to turn up sweaty or anything like that. So you might as well. That's kind of my thinking is that, e-bikes are going to get rid of the beta bikes because people will just say, well, stuff it, I'll go and invest in an e-bike and just ride the whole way, and you cut out the train station, which also begs the question of, we talk about, bicycles and scooters and things like that replacing cars. Well, are they really displacing cars, or are the people that are buying the e-bikes and things like that actually formerly public transport users who go, stuff it, I've had enough of riding the bus, the tram, the train. I am instead going to get myself a scooter and just ride into the office. So, it might be actually public transport that's losing patronage rather than taking cars off the road. It's interesting there. I saw this new path I'd never been on before. I'm going to have to go and try that out one day. Uh, yeah, anyway, it just goes back to this thing of, will the technology of the e-bike displace the bike shelter? Because, in our lifetime, we've seen, for instance, we've gone from having landlines at home to everyone having a mobile phone, and suddenly there's a whole lot of people that no longer get a landline in their house. They just rely on their mobile phone. Similarly, when I was at uni, one of the jobs I had was working in a video hire shop. And where are the video hire shops these days? All being killed off by Netflix and things like that. So it is entirely possible that the e-bike could just get rid of this idea of riding to the train station and then catching the train into town. Now that said, if you watch some of the videos that come out of the Dutch videos, for instance, they talk an awful lot about these massive bike parking lots at the train stations and how successful it's been. Oh, before I go on to that, yeah, I was looking for the bike shed in this particular train station and couldn't find it. What I did find, though, was a drive-through coffee shop, though. And it's just interesting the rise of these kind of drive-through things, because people are just won't get out of their cars, and that driver of that Land Cruiser was so manic about, is it on the Land Cruiser, whatever it is, about getting a coffee, that instead of staying in the queue, which was only like 3 cars, they drove out on the street and in the other side so they could jump the queue. Yeah, great. But anyway, because that station back there, kilometre down the road, didn't have a bike shed, this one was actually quite full. It had double or triple the normal number of bikes, so maybe all the bike users are riding here. Anyway, going back to the Dutch example, yeah, they're building these huge bike parking things at their train stations, but I think the difference there is they're not commuting short distances. And look, I'd have to find someone who's Dutch to fill me in on that, but I get the feeling these are the kind of people who would be, say, riding a bike to Wollongong train station and then jumping on the train to go to Sydney. They're not doing short distance trips, they're doing reasonable distance. Oh, and here's my crash, by the way. This is what I go through to bring you guys footage, because I wanted to have a look at the bike shed here at North Fremantle Station, and although I've been around this corner dozens and dozens of times, I just completely screwed it up, got the handlebars caught in the fence, and down I went. No harm, no foul, just a little bit sore after that, but yeah, got to be careful about taking those corners. And these guys were very concerned about whether I was okay or not, and made sure I was all fine before I went any further. But anyway, I then had a look at the bike shed there, and again, there was a couple of bikes in it. So yeah, it's just something to ponder. When we're trying to actually get bike storage built at train stations, the question is, well, has that need actually, or does that need still exist, or has it passed us by? Look, I can understand from the Dutch example the idea of, yeah, you'd want to build big bike storage facilities in the outer suburban areas where it is quite a distance into town, like say from Strathfield out, for instance. People on e-bikes are probably not going to want to ride from Strathfield into the city. I mean, I used to do that. It's 25 k's along in each direction along the Cooks River. But for the kind of inner city ring, I guess what is the maximum distance an e-bike user in a suit is willing to ride before they think, no, I'd rather just go to the local train station and park the bike and then get on an air-conditioned train. Anyway, that's my thought for the day. The crash wasn't that bad. I was actually back on the bike today after a layoff of a few days. Copped a few bruises and things, but yeah, I'll be a little bit more careful going around that corner in the future.